What kind of person tries to silence a celebration of love? Karen Hollis stood at the edge of the park, her arms crossed, lips pursed into a thin line of disdain, glaring at the stage where rainbow flags fluttered like defiant banners. The Harmony City LGBTQ+ Pride concert was in full swing. Music pulsed through the air, laughter spilled from the crowd, and couples of all kinds danced under the late afternoon sun. Karen, a local business owner known for her loud opinions and louder complaints, had decided this event was an affront to her carefully curated world. She'd spent weeks rallying her small but vocal group of supporters, flooding the city council with petitions to cancel the concert, claiming it was disruptive and inappropriate. When that failed, she showed up in person, armed with a megaphone and a mission to shut it all down. The park buzzed with energy as the first band, a local indie group called Starlight Collective, strummed their guitars and sang about freedom. Families sprawled on picnic blankets, teenagers painted their faces with glitter, and elderly couples swayed to the music. Karen's presence was a dark cloud on the horizon. She stormed toward the event organizers, her heavy footsteps crunching the grass, her voice already rising before she reached them. "This is a public space," she bellowed, her face red with indignation. "You can't just take over and push your agenda on everyone." Lila Martinez, the lead organizer, turned to face her. Lila was a wiry woman in her 30s, her dark hair tied back, her eyes sharp with resolve. She'd dealt with Karens before, but this one was a Category 5. "Ma'am, we have permits," Lila said, holding up a clipboard with official documents. "This event was approved months ago." Karen scoffed, snatching the clipboard and tossing it to the ground. The crowd nearby began to notice, their chatter fading as heads turned. A young man named Eli, a volunteer with a rainbow pin on his jacket, stepped forward. "You need to leave," he said, his voice steady but tense. Karen's eyes narrowed, her sneer deepening. "I'm a taxpayer. I have rights," she shouted, jabbing a finger at Eli. The air crackled with tension. A few onlookers pulled out their phones, recording the confrontation. Karen reveled in the attention, her voice growing louder, her accusations wilder. She claimed the concert was a public nuisance, that it was corrupting the youth, and that the city was going to hell for allowing it. Lila stayed calm, but her hands trembled slightly as she picked up the clipboard. She knew Karen wasn't just a loudmouth. She owned Hollis Bakery, a local staple, and had enough influence to make things difficult. Karen had already tried to strong-arm vendors into pulling out of the event, threatening to blacklist anyone who supported it. As the argument escalated, a new figure emerged from the crowd. Jasper, a quiet, bespectacled barista who worked at a nearby coffee shop, had been watching from the sidelines. He was shy, rarely spoke up, but something about Karen's tirade lit a fire in him. He'd grown up in Harmony City, hiding who he was for years, afraid of judgment. This concert was his first time feeling truly seen, and he wasn't about to let Karen ruin it. "You don't speak for everyone," Jasper said, his voice shaking but clear. The crowd murmured, some nodding in agreement. Karen whirled on him, her face twisting with contempt. "Oh, look, another one of them," she spat, gesturing vaguely at his rainbow wristband. Jasper froze, his courage wavering. He wasn't used to confrontation, and Karen's venom hit hard. But then, a hand rested on his shoulder. It was Mia, a trans woman who'd been helping with the concert sound system. She was tall, with a warm smile that contrasted with the steel in her eyes. "You're not alone," she whispered to Jasper, then turned to Karen. "You're the one causing a scene here," Mia said, her voice firm. "This is about love, not hate. If you don't like it, you can leave." The crowd erupted in cheers, and Karen's confidence faltered for a split second. She hadn't expected resistance not like this. But Karen wasn't done. She doubled down, pulling out her phone and threatening to call the police. "I'll have this shut down in an hour," she declared, her voice shrill. Lila exchanged a glance with Eli and Mia. They knew Karen had connections. Her cousin was a city council member, and she'd bragged about it often. The threat wasn't empty. As Karen dialed, the music paused, and the crowd's energy shifted. People whispered, uncertain. Was this vibrant celebration about to be snuffed out? Then came the twist no one saw coming. A teenage girl, no older than 16, pushed through the crowd, holding a crumpled piece of paper. Her name was Sophie, and she was Karen's niece. Her hands shook as she faced her aunt, her voice barely above a whisper. "Aunt Karen, stop," she said. "You don't know what you're doing." Karen's face froze, her phone still pressed to her ear. Sophie's eyes were wet with tears, but she held her ground. "I'm gay," she said, her voice breaking. "This concert, it's for people like me, and you're trying to take that away." The crowd went silent. Karen's mouth opened, then closed, her bravado crumbling. Sophie's confession hung in the air, raw and undeniable. For a moment it seemed like Karen might soften, might see the pain she was causing. But then her face hardened again. "You're confused," she snapped, dismissing Sophie with a wave. "You don't know what you're saying." Sophie's shoulders slumped, but she didn't back down. The crowd began to murmur again, this time with anger. Karen had crossed a line, and the tide was turning. The confrontation grew hotter as the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the park. Karen's call to the police didn't go as planned. The officer on the line, a seasoned woman named Officer Daniels, had already been briefed about the concert's permits. "Ma'am, unless there's an actual disturbance, there's nothing we can do," Daniels said, her tone clipped. Karen's face twisted in frustration, but she hung up and turned back to the organizers, undeterred. "This isn't over," she hissed, her voice low but venomous. "I'll make sure this town knows what kind of people you are." Lila, Eli, and Mia stood their ground, but Sophie's revelation had shifted something in the crowd. People were no longer just spectators, they were invested. A middle-aged man in a flannel shirt stepped forward, his voice booming. "Karen, you've been bullying this town for years. Enough is enough." His name was Tom, a mechanic who dealt with Karen's complaints about noisy pride decorations near his shop. Others joined in, their voices rising. A woman with a stroller shouted, "Let them celebrate." A group of teenagers started chanting, "Love is love." The energy was electric, unstoppable. Karen's eyes darted around, her confidence eroding. She wasn't used to this Harmony City usually bent to her will. Her bakery was a local institution, and she'd leveraged that power to intimidate anyone who crossed her. But now the crowd was turning, and she could feel it. Jasper, still shaken from his earlier stand, found his voice again. "You can't stop this," he said, louder this time. "This is bigger than you." The twist deepened as Sophie stepped closer to her aunt, her voice steadier now. "You always told me to stand up for what's right," she said. "This is me doing that." Karen's face flushed, but she didn't respond. Instead, she turned to the crowd, her megaphone raised. "You're all brainwashed," she shouted. But her words were drowned out by boos and jeers. The band on stage, sensing the moment, started playing Againa defiant anthem about resilience. The crowd roared, some raising their fists, others waving rainbow flags. Karen's threats weren't empty, though. She'd been working behind the scenes, pulling strings with her cousin on the city council. She'd convinced him to draft an emergency motion to revoke the concert's permit on public safety grounds. As the crowd's defiance grew, Karen slipped away, her phone already buzzing with texts from her cousin. She was determined to win no matter the cost. Meanwhile, Lila got a call from a friend at City Hall. "Karen's trying to pull the permit," the friend warned. "You've got maybe an hour before they vote." Lila's heart sank, but she didn't let it show. She gathered Eli, Mia, and a few other organizers in a huddle. "We need to mobilize," she said. "If the council votes to shut us down, we're done." Eli nodded, already typing furiously on his phone. Within minutes, social media posts were flying across Harmony City's X accounts, tagged with Harmony Pride. "Karen Hollis is trying to cancel our Pride concert," one post read. "Show up at the park now." The response was immediate. Cars started pulling into the lot, people streaming in from every corner of the city. By the time Karen returned with her cousin, Councilman Greg Hollis, the park was packed. Hundreds of people, maybe 1,000, filled the field, their voices a unified roar. Greg, a nervous man in an ill-fitting suit, looked pale as he saw the crowd. Karen, however, was undaunted. She marched to the stage, megaphone in hand, and demanded the music stop. "This event is illegal," she declared. "The council is voting to shut it down as we speak." The crowd's reaction was swift and fierce. Boos echoed across the park, and someone threw a water bottle, narrowly missing Karen's head. Lila climbed onto the stage, grabbing a microphone. "This is our city," she shouted. "We're here to celebrate love, and no one, not Karen, not the council, can take that away." The crowd erupted, chanting her name. Sophie, standing near the stage, looked at her aunt with a mix of sadness and resolve. "You're wrong," she said, loud enough for Karen to hear. "And you're going to lose." Karen's face twisted with rage, but there was something else there to fear. For the first time, she was outmatched. The council vote was happening across town, and word was spreading that the turnout at the park was making council members nervous. People were live-streaming the event, and local news vans had started to arrive. Karen's plan was unraveling, and she could feel the ground shifting beneath her. As the music swelled, a new chant rose from the crowd: "Harmony for all." It was a call to action, a rejection of Karen's hate. Jasper, now standing with Mia and Eli, felt a surge of pride. He'd spent so long hiding, but today he was part of something bigger. The concert wasn't just a party, it was a stand. And Harmony City was standing with them. The standoff reached its peak as dusk settled over Harmony City. Karen stood at the edge of the stage, her megaphone now silent, her face a mask of defiance and desperation. The crowd had grown to over 2,000, a sea of faces lit by phone screens and glowing pride flags. News cameras captured every moment, beaming the scene across the state. Karen's cousin, Councilman Greg, hovered nearby, his phone buzzing with updates from the council meeting. The vote to revoke the concert's permit was minutes away, and Karen was banking on it to restore her control. But the crowd wasn't backing down, and neither were the organizers. Lila, Eli, and Mia worked frantically, coordinating with supporters via X to flood the council's phone lines with calls demanding the concert continue. Sophie, still reeling from her public coming out, joined them, her voice hoarse but determined as she spoke to a local reporter. "My aunt thinks she can bully everyone into agreeing with her," Sophie said, her eyes shining with tears. "But she's wrong. This is about love, not hate." The clip went viral, shared thousands of times within minutes. Hashtags like Stand with Sophie and Harmony Pride trended nationwide. Karen's resolve began to crack. She saw the cameras, the crowd, the signs, some reading "Love wins," others less polite, calling her out by name. Her bakery, once a source of power, was now a liability. Posts on X reported a boycott forming, with customers vowing never to step foot in Hollis Bakery again. Karen's phone buzzed with notifications, angry messages from former regulars, even a few from her own employees, who were quitting in protest. She tried to rally, shouting into her megaphone about traditional values, but her words were swallowed by the crowd's chants. The turning point came when Officer Daniels arrived, not to shut down the concert, but to ensure it continued safely. "You're causing the disturbance, Ms. Hollis," Daniels said, her tone firm but calm. "Step back, or I'll have to escort you out." Karen's jaw dropped, her face paling. She looked to Greg for support, but he was already retreating, muttering excuses about needing to check on the vote. The council, overwhelmed by public pressure, voted unanimously to uphold the concert's permit. The news spread through the crowd like wildfire, met with cheers that shook the park. Karen's world collapsed in real time. Her cousin abandoned her, slipping away into the crowd. Her supporters, the few who'd shown up, had long since left, unwilling to face the backlash. Sophie approached her one last time, her voice soft but unyielding. "You could have been part of this," she said. "You could have chosen to listen." Karen's eyes flickered with something regret, Maybe, but she turned away, her shoulders slumped. She walked off, her megaphone dangling at her side, a lone figure against the vibrant, joyful chaos of the concert. The aftermath was swift and just. Hollis Bakery's reputation tanked, with reviews on every platform slamming Karen's actions. The city council issued a formal apology, and Greg resigned under pressure, his political career in tatters. Karen faced legal consequences to a lawsuit from the concert organizers for defamation and harassment, backed by video evidence from the crowd. The boycott held strong, and within months, Hollis Bakery closed its doors. Karen faded from public view, her influence gone, her name a cautionary tale. But the story didn't end with her defeat. The Harmony City Pride concert became a legend, drawing record crowds the following year. Sophie, once a shy teenager, became a local advocate, speaking at schools and events about acceptance. Jasper found the courage to come out to his family, who embraced him fully. Lila, Eli, and Mia continued organizing, turning Harmony Pride into a yearly tradition that put the city on the map. The concert wasn't just a victory, it was a movement. As the final notes of that night's music faded, the crowd lingered, unwilling to let the moment go. Strangers hugged, tears mixed with laughter, and the park glowed with a sense of unity that no one, not even Karen, could break. They'd faced hate and won, not with anger but with love, resilience, and a city that refused to be silenced. Harmony City had made history, and its people would carry that light forward, together.